Is Maria joining, Shireen?
Jocelyn has sent a message. I don't think she can make it. She had sent a photograph with 5 men working in an office. I couldn't listen to the audio, so I don't think she'll be coming in.
Okay. What about Maria? Is Maria joining?
Maria, and she has not said anything. I
Yeah.
haven't asked her either.
Mm-hmm.
We said she might come in, but she had the lady I introduced yesterday. She was
Teresa's.
having a meeting. Yeah, Teresa is just joining in.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone else we should wait for? That's what I'm asking. Otherwise, we could
Sure,
start.
nobody has kind of said anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, nobody else has.
Yeah, yeah. Catherine, no. Catherine didn't say anything. Teresa.
Hi, Usha. Usha is frozen.
Usha's.
Teresa after a long time. Hi,
Yeah, yeah.
Teresa.
Ah, there she is, Usha.
I can't see my mother. Papa, Umma is that online?
Hi,
It's
Teresa.
on.
We can see. I invited my sisters, three of them. I can see two of them here, Sindhu and Renu. My mother was a great storyteller. You know, after she passed away, I think we have been without stories, really. My mother was known as the granny who tells stories. You know, that's how the children in the family used to talk about her because she had like stories galore, even for us, everyone. And I thought, my sisters would enjoy listening to a story after a long time. Waiting for hoping
My
one
mother.
can join.
I think this is about all for the meeting.
Yeah, yeah. Shall we start then, Shireen? Let's start.
Yeah. My mother is sitting down. She just come into the
Oh,
meeting.
yeah, I can see her settling in.
Right.
Shireen, I can't hear. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. My laptop is crashed and I'm on the phone.
We
I
can
said,
hear you.
oh, you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear
And we
you
saw you
well.
as well.
Okay, so I'm going to come out now. As the storytelling started, can I hear you all the time now? Or I'll just be
Yes,
quiet.
you could, but we have lost your lost your visual.
Oh,
Visual is not there, but as long as you can see the storyteller, we put her.
what I'll do is I feel if I'm on this thing, then I can hear because for some reason when you can't hear me,
Yeah.
I can't hear you. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do any talking because I'm on my own in my flat. So I'll
Okay.
just leave it at that.
Sure, sure. What I can do is I'll spotlight Aarti once she starts, so that makes
Okay.
it easier for everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm
Shireen, we
ready.
can start. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Reka, we can introduce Aarti, please.
Oh,
And
I
thank you,
thought
Reka,
you were
for
going to
convening the
do.
meeting. It was Reka's
So, yeah.
initiative. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Aarti Phadke comes from corporate world. She was customer care manager for Idea, right, Aarti?
Yes.
In Mumbai for almost 10-15 years. Then she relocated to Bahrain, where her husband took up a job here. Aarti went through the training to become a storyteller, and she has been enthralling audiences, young and old, in Bahrain and elsewhere with her amazing stories. We have had two exposures with her, one in Shrinkala. She did a whole session for us in storytelling. And then again for Shrinkala Open Mic, she did another story. She has worked with me for children's workshop, communication workshop, doing storytelling sessions for them. She does it on a regular basis for teenagers, basing on themes which uh, adolescents go through, the problems that adolescent kids go through. So this is our first exposure to Aarti, and I hope that this will be one of many. We welcome Aarti to this session of storytelling. Over to you, Aarti.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rekha ji, for thinking about me and giving me this opportunity to interact with all the lovely people here. And I'm assuming that you all have joined in today. So all of you really like stories. And without wasting much time, I would like to start my story. Should we start, or are we waiting for a few more to join?
Let's start, Aarti.
All right. So this story which I'm going to tell you today is a story which originally is from Armenia, and it was told by an Armenian storyteller a few years back, and it was narrated by another storyteller, Jan Blake. And I heard this story 4 years back. I came to Bahrain 5 years back, and I started this journey of storytelling. And I was going through a lot of other storytellers and what they are doing, what kind of work they are doing, what kind of stories they are sharing. And this was one story I came across, and it has stayed with me for last 4 years. It's one story which grabbed my heart, and I thought I should share that today with you all. The earlier story, it was an Indian story, but I thought this will be a story which will maybe, which you all will like. So hoping for the best, and I'll start with the story now. Once upon a time, a king was walking along the shores of a lake along with his advisor. He glanced across the waters of the lake and he saw a man, an old fisherman. He had long gray hair, long gray beard, and a lungi, land cloth tied around his waist. He was casting his net onto the waters, pulling it in, throwing the fish back into the waters. He was casting his net onto the waters, pulling it in, throwing the fish out. He was casting his net and he was casting his net. Now the king watched the old fisherman with great amusement. He turned towards his advisor and he said, "What is he doing?"
Volume is very low, Shirin.
Am I audible?
Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you perfectly well.
So can I.
We
Okay.
can hear.
No, not yet. It's very low. Shirin, you speak a bit to see.
We can hear Papa. It's very clear.
Very low volume, Shirin. It was very loud earlier. Now it's gone down.
Okay, maybe
Okay,
give
carry
Uma
on.
headset, but don't disturb Papa. Okay, thank you.
I think he needs to increase the volume, that's all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
on his
silently-
laptop.
Yeah.
No, it's on a
So you all
phone.
continue your conversation.
Okay,
Story.
fine.
Story.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just make a request? If you can mute everyone, because once the story is in the flow, then maybe, it's like, maybe they can chat or send a message or something. Is it possible to mute everyone? The host can mute me.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please don't mute me in case I lose this, because I'll be quiet.
Okay, should I continue?
Yeah, you can.
So the king watched this fisherman with great amusement, and he turned to his advisor and he said, "What is he doing? He's not fishing. He's throwing the fish back into the waters. Call him. I want to speak with him." So the advisor stepped forward and he said, "You, yes, you. The king wishes to speak with you." So the old fisherman, he rolled his net. He dropped it at the bottom of his boat. He rowed back to the shore. He climbed out of his boat. He approached the king and he bowed down and he said, "Your Majesty, I'm at your service." The king looked at the old fisherman and he said, "What were you doing there in the lake? You were not fishing. I saw you throwing the fish back." The old fisherman, he had wrinkles all over his face, but a profound sense of wisdom prevailed. He said, I have a story to tell if you have the ears to hear. The king said, oh, I love stories. Sit and tell me your story. So the old fisherman sat, the king sat, the advisor sat, and the fisherman began his story. He said, Your Majesty, I was young, I was vibrant, I was strong. And in this very lake, I fished every day. I stored the fish, I took them to the market, I sold them, and I got a small portion back home to my mother. And my mother, she made delicious curries out of it. But Your Majesty, said the old man to the king, my mother used to pester me every evening. She said, do you want me to die an old woman? When will you marry? When will you get my daughter-in-law? I want to see my grandchildren. I want you to be happy. But Your Majesty, said the old man to the king, I was happy. I liked my life. Every evening, I used to go to the market with my friends. We used to have nice red pomegranate wine. We used to play cards. We used to watch these young women pass by. We used to have nice hot coffee. I was happy. And then one day, in this very lake, what I thought was the biggest catch of my life turned out to be a box. And there was a golden chain attached to the box. And to the golden chain was a golden key. I pulled the golden key and I inserted it into the box. And click, I unlocked the box. I slowly opened the box, and Your Majesty, said the old man to the king, there was a beautiful woman in the box. Her skin was as pale as the moonlight. Her hair was as dark as the midnight sky. She had doe eyes and thin lips. She looked into my eyes, and I was hers forever and ever. Her smile was to be dazzling. She opened her mouth, and in a very soft and lovely tone, she said, hello. And I said, hello. And she said, how are you? And I said, who are you? And she said, I can be your wife if you wish me to be. Your Majesty. I didn't have to be told twice. I just lifted her from the box. I placed her next to me in the boat. I rowed back to the shore, and with the handle of the box in one hand and her hand in the other, I led them to the home which I shared with my mother. And there, as we stood at the doorstep, and my mother had one look at her, she said, is she the one? Is she the one you will marry? Is she the one who will give me my grandchildren? Is she the one who will make us happy? And I said, yes. And my mother, she was so happy. She ran out into the streets and she ululated to express her happiness. What followed was a grand celebration and a grand wedding. She invited everyone from the village for the wedding. It was a celebration of 3 days and 3 nights. We ate delicious food, we drank, we danced, and we sang our favorite song. Unran mujo mama, ni ausan katuka. Unran mujo mama, ni ausan katuka. Ni mazoricha pela lagi sel madinanka. Ni mazoricha pela lagi sel madinanka. Ya maya ya maya ya maya ya maya ya maya ya maya ya maya. And then, Your Majesty, said the old man to the king, things came back to routine. In this very lake, I fished every day. I used to take the fish to the market, I used to sell them, and I used to get a small portion back to my mother and my wife. And they made delicious curries. We all were happy. No children yet, but I was happy. A few days later, a thought started to bother me. I thought, being a fisherman, did not do justice to my beautiful wife. So I decided to learn a new skill, the skill of a goldsmith. I learned the skill and I started taking small orders. And soon I started getting big orders. I became a fine goldsmith. I became an expert, and I was commissioned by the good, the great, and the rich. Very soon, I opened my own workshop. I had very unique gems in my workshop. And every stone I set was in the honor of my wife. Every necklace, pair of earrings, bracelets, anklets I made was in the honor of my wife. And then in the evening when I used to go home, I used to see my wife cooking, cleaning, laughing, humming, Ale bibalamo, bibalamo. And my mother sitting by the fireplace knitting and giggling and humming with her. Ale bibalamo, bibalamo. We were all very happy, Your Majesty, said the old man to the king. Until one day, in my workshop, when I was working on this difficult piece of necklace, suddenly a strong aroma, a perfume, wafted in my workshop under the door and filled my workshop. The door swung open and there stood 3 veiled women. They were completely covered from top to bottom, only their eyes to be seen. And they walked with one step and they spoke with one voice. And they said from behind their veils, "Hey, goldsmith, are you happy?" "Of course I'm happy," I said. "What kind of question is this?" And from behind their veils, they said, "If you're happy, then..." And in one turn, they just turned and they moved out of the workshop, closing the door behind, but leaving the aroma and the question in their wake. "Your Majesty," said the old man to the king, I was confused. What is the meaning of all these? Who are these veiled women and why are they asking me this question? I tried to go back to the necklace on which I was working, but I couldn't. I just locked my workshop and I went home. And there, when I stood at the doorstep, I saw my wife cleaning and cooking and humming, Ale di balamo, di balamo. And my mother sitting by the fireplace, knitting and giggling and humming with her. And I thought to myself, this is a picture of perfect happiness. Home is where the heart is. Home is where love is. Home is where happiness is. I went in. I had the delicious dinner cooked by my wife. And then I held her hand gently and I took her up to my bedroom. I sat her beside me and I looked her into the eyes to confirm my happiness. The next day morning, I got up. I washed myself, I said my prayers, I had my breakfast, and I went to my workshop. I started working on the necklace, but to be very honest with you, Your Majesty, said the old man to the king, half my mind was on the necklace and half my mind was wondering whether those women will come back. And they did. The same strong aroma filled my workshop. The door swung open and there they stood, the 3 veiled women, completely covered, only their eyes to be seen. They walked with one step and they spoke in one voice. And from behind their veils, they said, "Hey, goldsmith, are you happy?" I was a little frustrated this time. I said, "Yes, I am happy. My wife is happy. My mother is happy. Of course, I'm happy. Why do you ask?" And from behind their veils, they laughed and they turned and they were out of my workshop, leaving the question and the aroma behind. I tried to go back and work on the necklace, but I just couldn't. I put the necklace away. I locked my workshop and I started walking into the streets I knew so well. I walked and I walked and I walked and I walked, the question drilling in my mind, are you happy? I was trying to make out the meaning of all this. I walked till the sun set. I walked and I walked till my tired feet led me to the only place I knew, my home. And there, as I stood by the doorstep, my mother, she gave me looks which are reserved for sons who displease their mothers. Where were you? She asked me. I just entered the house. I looked around and I couldn't see my wife. I asked my mother, where is she? My mother said, she's upstairs and she's crying. You didn't come home for dinner. I'm sorry, mother, I said. And I walked up the stairs to our bedroom. I saw that my wife was in the bed and she was crying. I knew that I should have climbed into the bed and I should have comforted her. But I didn't. I just lay there with my back towards her. My mind was filled with those veiled women and the question penetrating my mind, are you happy? I couldn't sleep, Your Majesty. The next day morning, I just jumped from my bed. I knew that I should have confronted my wife, but I didn't. I didn't have breakfast. I just went to my workshop. I didn't do any work. I didn't pick up any tools, but I just waited. I waited for those veiled women to come back. And sure enough, they did. The same aroma filled my workshop. The door swung open and there they stood, the three veiled women, completely covered, only their eyes to be seen. They walked with one step. They approached me and from behind their veils, they said, hey, Goldsmith, are you happy? No, I said. No, I'm not happy. What is happiness? Can you show me? Can you show me happiness? And from behind their veils, they said, very well then, follow us and we'll show you happiness. And they started moving out of my workshop. I quickly followed them. I followed them into the streets I had known the whole of my life, till I came to streets I was seeing for the first time in my life. We walked and we walked and we walked and we walked, till we came to this house which had an oak door. And the oak door had this knob of a veiled woman. One of them took out the keys from the pocket. She unlocked the door and she slowly opened the door. And Your Majesty, said the old man to the king, I saw a courtyard full of lights. And there were silk curtains to all the windows. There was exquisite furniture all around. They made me sit on a royal chair with the softest of linens. And then I saw towards the right, there was a table laden with delicious food to eat and to drink. One of them got warm, lukewarm water to wash my hands, my face and my legs. The other one got me pomegranate wine. The third one got me a platter of the delicious food. And they started feeding me. The first one who had washed my hands, she took up an instrument and she started playing intoxicating music. After that finished feeding me, the other two started dancing on that music. The music was played on and the dance went on. And Your Majesty, all my five senses were stimulated and I was transported into a state of pure bliss. And when the music was over and the dance was finished, the three veiled women, they stood in front of me and they dropped their veils. Your Majesty, I thought my wife was a thing of beauty, but these three was something else. And then they asked me, you can have us. You can have one of us. Choose. Your Majesty, how could I choose? They were all so beautiful. And as if understanding my mind, one of them slightly moved her leg forward, indicating that I should choose her. You, I choose you, I said. And then they put back their veils. And from behind their veils, they said, you can have us, but you need to go home. You need to put your wife back in the box, and you need to drop the box in the lake. Your Majesty, I didn't have to be told twice. I just leaped from my seat and I ran out of their home into the streets not known to me, till I came to the streets I knew. I ran and I ran and I reached my home and I jumped 3 steps at a time and I burst into my house. My mother, she was startled. What's the matter? She asked. What's the hurry? I looked around. I said, where is she? She's upstairs. She's drying clothes. I ran up to the terrace. My wife, she was drying clothes. I went to her. I said, stop what you're doing now and come with me right now. Your Majesty, my wife was so dutiful. She just stopped what she was doing and she came behind me to our bedroom. I started looking for the box. We had made a table out of the box and had kept things on it. I just swept off those things on the ground. And I took the handle of the box in one hand and I took her hand in the other. And I started leading both of them down the steps. My wife said, where are we going? And I said, ask me no questions. Bump, 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 bump. My mother, she got up and she said, what is the meaning of this? Where are you taking my daughter-in-law? What is the matter? And I said, ask me no questions. I led my wife and the box, dragging behind into the streets. And then we came to this very lake, Your Majesty. I started looking for my old boat and then I found it. We got into the boat, I kept the box, I opened the lid of the box and I told her, climb in. My wife, she started pleading, what is this? Why are you doing this? Have I made some mistake? Please tell me. I know we don't have any children, but be patient. We will have children. It's not about children, I said. Then what is it? Give me another chance, please. Is it my mistake? Your Majesty, I had nothing to say to her. In fact, I didn't even face her. I just said, get into the box. My wife, she fell on her knees and she pleaded, please don't do this. Tears rolling down her cheeks. She pleaded and she pleaded. But my mind was filled with those veiled women. I forced her to get into the box. And finally, she resigned. She surrendered to the situation and she got into the box. I slammed the lid down. And then I pulled the golden key from the golden chain. I inserted it into the box and click, I locked the box. And then I rowed to the middle of this lake. And I pushed the box from the boat. The box went down. And as the box was sinking and I saw the box, I suddenly felt relieved of the burden of this question, released from my shoulders. I thought, finally, I'm going to be happy. I felt the burden lift and I thought, I'm going to find my happiness. So I quickly rowed back to the shore and I started looking for the house. I started looking for the streets unknown to me. I searched and I searched and I searched, but Your Majesty, I couldn't find the house. I looked in every nook and corner of the village. I asked every person in the village, have you seen this house with the oak door, the knob of the veiled women? But no one had seen a house like that. I looked and I looked and I searched and I searched the whole night. I did not leave a single place. But Your Majesty, I couldn't find the house. Finally, early morning, my tired feet led me to the only place I knew, my home. My mother, she was waiting at the door. And when she saw me, she said, "Where is she? What have you done? Where is my daughter-in-law?" It was at that point of time, Your Majesty, I just crashed. I started crying and I told her everything. And my mother, she said, "You fool, what a fool you have been. You've been a fool, but go right now. Time is not lost. You go right now and you cast your net and you get my daughter-in-law back. I want to see her laugh. I want to see you happy. Please go right now." Your Majesty, I just ran out of the house. I ran and I came to this very lake. I got into my boat. I rowed to the center of this boat. I cast my net. I pulled it in. But all I found was fish. I cast my net again and again and again. But all I found was fish. That day. So I came back the next day. I cast my net again and again and again. And then I came back the next day and the next day and the next day. And every day, Your Majesty, I come here and I cast my net because I know that I'm going to find my wife. I know I'm going to find her. Now that you've heard my story, Your Majesty, please, I'll take your permission. I have a job to do. I need to find my wife, and maybe today I'll find her. Saying so, the old fisherman, he went towards his boat. He got into his boat. He rowed in the center of the lake. He cast his net onto the waters. He pulled it in. He threw the fish back in the waters. He cast his net onto the waters. He pulled it in. He threw the fish back. And he cast his net. And he cast his net. And he cast his net.
Oh, that was great.
Thank you.
That was really wonderful, Aarti. So
Thank you.
expressive.
Yes, it was. I really enjoyed it. It was lovely. Really great story.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mute.
So-
Okay, tell her.
What?
Tell her what you like. Did you
Yeah,
like the
we told
story?
her, we told her. Yeah, we
Oh,
already did.
okay, now it's unmuted.
Thank you for the story.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So maybe you can just share your initial thoughts on the story. We can start off with that.
How desperate the fisherman would have been.
Anyway, I will tell you a story later, another time, about ghost stories at a hydro complex in Sri Lanka where I was working for about 10, 15 years. Later, next time, I'll tell you about it.
Oh, I love those stories.
Okay. Thank you very much for the story. I was on the
Thank you.
sideline. You wouldn't have seen my face, but I was the sideline listening to it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
That's Shireen's father, Aarti.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking.
Shirin, shall we cut off Shirin?
No, it's still
No,
going
no.
on.
Going on.
It's still going
I
on.
have a question, Aarti.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the three women is a metaphor for what? I mean, it's going on in mine. I know it's open-ended, the story, and I can't.
Figure out.
Are there doubts in our mind?
Just give me a minute.
Discomfort,
I'm logging
yeah.
in from the laptop because I want to see all of you. This was for the story. Just give me a minute. Yeah, I'm just switching to the laptop.
Sure,
It's
sure.
already on.
Not
Yeah.
to see us.
Yeah, see, you can see us now.
I know the laptop, she said, man.
Okay. Right.
While she logs on, I want to welcome Fatima, a colleague of mine. She's logged in to listen to Aarti's story.
Yeah,
didn't see
we
her
spoke
face.
to her,
Okay.
Usha. She had
I
logged in early.
Okay.
Aarti and myself, we both spoke to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Usha.
Yeah.
So the question is about the three veiled women, right?
You have an echo because, yeah, you have to mute the other one.
Is this better now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So in fact, it's open for discussion. I would like to hear from you. What do you think are these veiled women? And we can, just I'd like to listen to y'all.
Can I answer?
What you thought of it?
He's put all the ink in everything.
I'm not sure of the number 3.
We
but,
can't hear you. You're muted, I think.
No.
No,
Sudha,
we can,
we can't hear you. Are you able to hear?
I can hear.
no, we can hear Aarti.
just a
Sudha,
minute.
say again.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the the 3, why there were 3 women. But I know that there are some form of doubt or some restlessness in our mind of not being able to accept happiness when we have
Okay,
it. I don't know if you can hear
just a
it.
second.
We only got 2 black ink
Yeah, now I can hear.
They're putting
No, you got it for free.
as an additional to the.
Whoever is talking, could they not talk? Could they say somebody else, please?
Right. Sorry, Sindhu, you were saying something?
Sudha was asking.
Sudha, sorry, yes.
Yeah. I'm Sudha.
Yes.
I'm not sure of the significance of the number 3, why there were 3 women, but I'm just assuming there's some form of restlessness, something causing doubt in our mind and not able to recognize happiness when we have it. So I'm really not clear. I mean, I'm looking forward to some kind of discussion on that.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for your views. Anybody else wants to just share?
So I think we always think that happiness is something spectacular that has to happen. We don't recognize happiness in small ways that happens to us. And we are constantly searching for that elusive happiness, and then we lose what we have also. And then life becomes a big search of happiness. Look around and say that all this makes me happy. We are constantly thinking that I need this to be happy, or I need to do that to be happy. Maybe that's what the story is telling us.
And he was happy to start with. He was happy to start with.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He was happy till somebody asked him,
Yeah.
are you happy?
Yeah.
And then,
Correct.
is it also that we kind of bow down to certain social norms or certain influences? That's what it is.
No, it makes us think, isn't it, that when we are poked, we are so quickly shaken, isn't it? He was happy, right? He kept saying, I'm happy, I'm happy.
That
And then suddenly when he was
bliss-
poked, are you happy? And suddenly he was shaken and he was like, oh, am I really happy?
Yeah, that question.
Question is
and
asked.
then he complicates his own life after that.
I thought it was interesting that it was a fisherman. That it starts off as a fisherman. I just think it's a nice metaphor that we are fishing anyway, all of us, through life.
That's a good one.
Yes.
The fisherman, he could have easily been something else, but he was a fisherman to begin with, and he ended up the fisherman. But I just thought it was interesting that that's his occupation.
Right.
And what also struck me was there was a division between work and leisure. Like his work continued. It was during the period where he was having leisure, or when he wasn't working, when the thoughts came in, and this whole thing about this whole the illusion, or if you call it an illusion, of the women stepping in, was during the time he was not working. Am I right? Did I get
Yeah.
on that story? Yeah. So it's like when you have the time to think, that's when things creep into your mind.
But it wasn't
Could be, but even in the workshop, he was not able to focus later. It
It was a
disturbed him.
workshop. Yeah.
He was in the workshop.
He was
Yeah.
working.
But I kept thinking of this, I mean, in English, we have the expression that there are other fish in the sea. And I just kept having that was what I was thinking about all the time. Okay, he's going to find another fish in the sea. Yeah, he's looking for another fish in the sea. But he actually had to go back to the fish to find the fish that he already had.
And why did he change his profession to making jewelry?
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, because she was happy already. They didn't need to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But perhaps he needed more money.
But he was a creative. He was creative. He had a creative to be able to produce jewelry. He had the sense of creativity. And picking on Sarah's fish of the phrase fishing, fishing. There's also the idiom or the phrase of the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah. There's also fish out of water. Lots of metaphors of fish. Yeah. Like a fish. I thought she was a mermaid or something, you see. I thought she wasn't real.
So this is the other one where they say when you're in your element, you know, they always say that. But I'm actually interested in these three women that arrive. I don't know who asked that question earlier about what the three women represented. I thought that was rather, because it's a lovely bit. I love the fact that they're veiled, and it puts a kind of a, which is the beauty about storytelling. It puts this kind of, you know, when you use the word weird, but it's also a kind of a little bit of a scary thing that comes in when you see these three women. It kind of reminds me of those storytelling tales when you have people that are veiled that you can't quite see. And the story takes a slightly different twist into a kind of a slightly fantasy world, from this working world to this fantasy world, or the mystical world. Maybe that's a better expression. I don't know. What does anyone think about that? That it's turned, that the story had a bit of a twist, a kind of an evil twist to it.
Yeah. Like Macbeth's witches, you know.
Yes, exactly. I'm full of Macbeth witches when you said these three women, you know.
Yeah. There was a waft of, you said a waft of perfume when they walked in. So like, you know, the smell would have been more.
Creates that mystery element. That creates that.
You know what I thought was going to happen? I thought she was going to smell the smell of the perfume. And that would be the hint to the wife. Something's going on. So I thought it was a trap, right? That's what I thought the trap was. The trap was that the perfume was going to be an indicator to the mum and the wife. It was not, it was all a trap.
That he's committed some sort of adultery, that he comes in smelling of this.
Yeah, that's right.
5 women versus 1 man in the story.
Sorry?
The gender, 5 women, the three whatever beings which were women, and the 2, the wife and the mother. So 5 versus 1 man.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's so true.
Oh God.
No, there was a king also. There was a king and his advisor.
Yeah. That's right. So 5 versus 3. Okay. Anyway, we are tilted more the partiality to women.
But it's interesting that it's a king. It's not a passerby. Why is it a king that's asking him? You know, you sometimes wonder about these various. You've got a fisherman. You've got a king, and I'm wondering why a king. Why was a king thrown in?
Maybe because, you know, usually the people who are at position can question you, right? I mean, if somebody else would have just called him and asked him, we are not sure whether he was answerable.
You will get an answer.
Because it was a king, you know, he was answerable to him. That could be one of the reasons why it is the king.
Yeah.
But answering the other question, the 3 veiled women, actually, you know, when you look at it, there could be temptations in our life. You know, we are walking on our path and we are always lured by these temptations, you know. They kept asking, are you happy? Are you happy? And we have all these temptations which we feel will give us happiness. And we go behind them, right? So it could be just one thought that these veiled women are the temptations in our life. In fact, what is the difference between his wife and the veiled women? Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Well, the wife comes out of a box. So that,
She's the treasure. She's the treasure.
oh, the treasure, right? That's
Yeah,
good.
that's
Yeah.
a good one. Yes.
You got a treasure then.
But still, you are chasing after veiled dark women. Why?
The unknown is always more.
Mystic allurance.
She's a temptress.
And the temptresses, yeah. True. That's true.
What is the religion where they come from?
Armenia, right? You said Armenia.
Armenia.
Christian or is it Muslim?
The story is originally from Armenia.
Yeah, but what is their national religion or?
I mean, they are Orthodox. They
I think they're Indo-European. I think they have an Indo-European kind of a culture.
They have
And
a,
you,
Orthodox Christians, aren't they, of some type?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Orthodox,
They are.
Orthodox.
They are.
and you sang a Goan fisherman song.
Islamic as well, right?
It's
The
a
song
blend of
was a
cultures.
Goan song.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maya.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think the fact that they chose the fisherman is a very Christian thing. This catching
Yeah,
up.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Brilliant.
That's why I sang that song, because it's a fisherman song. It's like coastal song, no?
What does it mean, by the way? What do the words mean? I was the
It's-
one. What is it? Is it?
It's just, it doesn't have really a very profound meaning or anything. It is just that it's a peppy song.
Oh,
And it's made for fun actually, but it is a coastal, it's a song,
Fisherman song.
fisherman song. So that is the reason why I thought I'll just add that.
But the song is from, I think it's from Goa, right?
Yes, it's from Goa.
Yeah.
It's from Goa.
That's
nice.
it. That's a blend. But,
So coming back to the question, what is the difference between the wife and the veiled women? Can we just think about it?
She's
Veiled
familiar.
women are temptations. They're not real. They just come in and they disappear.
Yes.
Needle you a bit, get you all riled up, and then they run away. So those are life's temptations or whatever, questions that come your way.
But I also found the wife's introduction into the story a little unusual. She comes out of a box from the sea, and that makes her seem slightly unreal too. Why didn't he just meet her in the street? But she's also in this kind of mystic
Magical.
fashion. She appears.
Or could be a birth woman, right? I mean, you think of the birthing passage, the water coming out of a box. So it just could be, I don't know, to me, it seems a very ritualistic birthing way, you know, sort of out of the waters. And
For me, it's you are looking for your partner and you find your partner.
No, I get a bit about the treasure, yeah. Maybe, but she's very compliant, the wife as well. I mean, she
Yeah.
stands up and says, "Do you want me for a
Seemed-
wife?" And you
Yeah,
have me.
she seemed docile, if you ask me.
and also never questions
told
And
it.
followed his orders.
Yeah,
And
because
she cried when he didn't eat her food. Come on.
No, he's late for dinner.
Give me
I
a
think
break.
she seems.
Who does that?
I know.
the story wasn't it only the three women who questioned him? His mother didn't, his wife didn't. The first
Yeah.
in the first experience of someone, you know, sort of questioning him, but these three.
Yeah.
So, you know, that, I mean, that's what struck me, that these three, the forces again were women who questioned him. So when you ask for the difference between the wife and the vision women, if you could call them, is that one questions and the other just accepts.
And the thing that
Yeah, that's a good
the wife was homebound, and
Mm.
women seem to be able to flit in and out of other people's workshop, go around the world and come back. You know, they seem more like us, I think.
They're transient, they're visitors.
Yeah.
But we don't go around saying, hey, are you happy? Are you sure you're happy?
You'll get slapped, Usha.
You know, it can be also seen as an inner voice.
Yeah.
Also an inner voice, you know, are you happy?
Yeah.
And things, sometimes when things are working really fine, everything is going on well, and we just wonder, how,
Why is
everything
life
is,
so perfect?
and we are like, hope, it stays like that, and we get those thoughts. So it can also be looked at as a inner voice that
Inner voice, yeah.
questioning, are you happy?
You
Yeah.
can also
Why-
see you could also see these three women as not being baddies, but actually opening up his world a bit by asking him. Because we're putting them in the baddie section, but they could actually be people that are actually stretching him to actually question himself. So we're automatically thinking he has the wife, she cooks him meals, therefore he should be happy. I know that the story ends that he's still looking for her, but I mean, we're making an assumption about these women as being baddies, and they may not be baddies.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, his fickleness comes through, right? I mean, it's just the probing, the questioning, and then he kind of, it's just, so it's you can kind of see his fickle, but then sense of abundance through the fishing, that he's still blessed with the ability to, be able to catch a fish, despite what he did to his wife. That's what, it's not that the catch is getting any less, that he's still blessed with, an abundance. So that's,
But does
And
even
even-
at the beginning, I lost the bit at the beginning. At the beginning, when the king finds him, is he throwing the fish back into the water?
Yes,
I got a
that
bit
was the start.
distracted.
Yeah.
So he's
When
throwing
the
it
king watched him throwing the fish back,
back.
and that's when he
So he's
calls
not
him and wants to
looking-
know what he's doing, why he's doing that.
So if you look at him at the end, why is he throwing back? If he's got this abundance, he's still throwing back. So,
No,
you know,
that's
at the
because he's
end-
searching for his wife, right?
yeah, he's searching for his wife,
Yeah.
but maybe he's still not actually getting it. Even at his old age, he's not getting the fact that he's got all this plentiful fish. He could be doing something else, but he's still back on this one track, like he was. He seems the kind of guy that when he's in a such groove, he stays in the groove. And then he gets this wife by accident, then he stays in the groove, and then these women arrive, and then he's pushed into another groove. But this is a man who doesn't advance in any way.
Oh, man.
I mean, is that men? Is that a judgment on men?
you need to teach him
Like a
flexible
broken-
thinking.
Like
Sorry
a
if
broken
there are any
record.
men here. It's the women that are pushing him left, right, and center.
He's rigid.
I think that is a foregone conclusion that it is women who push the world forward. That's it.
Can you see the force that's making him so wanting back?
So coming back to your point, Tressa, right?
Yeah.
Tressa.
Yeah.
So, see, basically, he's throwing the fish back, yes, but you know what? After he lost his wife, because he pushed her in the lake, what is the motivation for him to live? Every day he came there, that was the only motivation. It was hope that I'll find my wife. That was the only hope with which he could continue living. He had something to look forward to. I have to find my wife today. Maybe today I'll find her. That hope pushes him to live.
But
Otherwise,
I would throw another question at you. You know, I know this with my own life. Sometimes you're pushing against the wall and you're not getting anywhere. So you have to change your hope. You have to actually find another dream. And I feel that this, because I try 101 different ways of achieving what I want. And sometimes it's far away from what I really wanted. And then I think, this is okay. So I feel as a metaphor, when you're thinking about this fishing, and I would say if I was telling this to young children, I would say, what would you do? Would you keep going? Or would you say, okay, I am not destined for this. So maybe there's another gateway I can get. Maybe I should walk the streets and find some other woman. But do you know what I mean? I just felt this kind of, it may be a story of hope, but it looks hopeless at the end when you're doing it. And you get cracking, you
it is also
describe
his guilt. It is also his guilt because he's pushed. He's pushed her in the lake, so there must be also a guilt feeling that
That's right.
no, I need to find her. I have done something which is not right, and maybe that is also one of the feelings with which he's maybe just
to fix it.
I
But
think
do you think that in itself also says sometimes you cannot fix anything, so you need to move on?
Yes, you need to value the things you have.
Yeah, and if you
lose them, you might not get them back.
yes, And when you don't get them back, don't get fixated on them. Move on. I don't know. I mean, I love the story at the beginning. I loved your description at the beginning of this man because I saw it in my head straight away. Just wanted to say that I got it straight away. So I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you liked it.
I love storytelling. This is why I'm in the middle of everything in London and everything is going ugh at the moment. So, you know, it's pouring with rain, freezing cold. But I love the rain, actually. I don't mind the rain. But I have missed 2 or 3 of them. And then my laptop crashed yesterday. So I was thinking, oh, God, I can't bear it, you know. And then I had 101 things going wrong. And that's why I particularly like this story. I was thinking, nothing is going right at this moment. I mean, I forget all the things that have gone right, by the way. They have a lot of things. But you know how when you're striving for something, you find that things. So when you started off and you finished with him throwing his net again and again, I was thinking, Jesus, this I can't do. I have to, you know, there's a story in the Christian thing where Christ says to the disciples, you know, to the fishermen who were later disciples, throw your fish in another net in another area. That is also something, because you said he goes to the center of the lake. He always goes to the center. So I would ask myself, why are you always going to the center of the lake?
That's where the deep waters are, I guess,
waters.
you know. Yeah, to get anything
Silent. What's your
probably worthwhile, you have to go wade the deep waters and get things. But
He just pushed her into the deep
amazing
end, Rekha.
thing about this, yeah, Sudha.
Maria?
There's one more
That's-
question I have.
That's a good point there.
One more perspective I want you to think about. What do you think is the box? What does the box represent?
Treasure.
Treasure?
Mm.
Because this time when I was telling the story, it just occurred to me that
It has
you know,
money and it has got the treasure of his life, his wife.
the locking and unlocking,
Yeah.
locking and
Perfect
unlocking of the
woman.
box, you know. So I just thought that, see, when we unlock, it's like our mind. When we unlock, we get things. And when we lock it, we lose things.
Yes.
I just thought that, you know, the box
Yeah,
represents our mind.
Absolutely.
The bed.
That's an amazing perspective. Yeah.
But there's also
so-
Pandora's box when we open it and all those bad things came out. Sorry, I'm always,
Don't remind us of that now.
Oh, is it the
It's
curtain
just
can be opened?
unlocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but we have, what was the last thing in Pandora's box? Was it hope? It was the last thing.
Hope, yeah.
It was
Yeah,
hope.
hope. Yes, it was hope though.
We have a silent member. Maria, hi.
Maria, she joined after the story.
Hi.
Very
Yeah,
quiet.
I'm just trying to make up the story in my head listening to you.
Oh.
So I think
Did
I
you
have
listen?
a,
Can you
Did you
tell us
have an
what you're
idea?
thinking, Maria? Can you tell us what you're thinking?
okay, this guy is catching fish and for some reason he's throwing them back into the water and then the king sees him. But he has his wife in a box and then he brings his wife out, but then these 3 other women who are veiled come in and ask him if he's happy, and for some reason he throws the woman in the water, which I think he probably did know that he wasn't going to get her back from the water, because when people fall in the water, they die, okay? So now he sees that something really bad is going to happen to him because he threw the wife in the water and he wants to get her back, but I don't think he's going to be very lucky with that.
You really got the gist of it, Maria. Not bad at all, you know, not bad at all.
So what is your take on the box,
Really?
Maria? What do you think the box represents?
I don't know enough about the box, but I think it's the power he exerts on her. Like he's happy when he wants to be happy, and he is not happy when he does what he wants. I think, but I don't know the story. I'm just making this up. Okay.
Good point.
Very nice.
Good
No,
point.
but that's a nice way
Yeah.
of looking at it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the 3
absolutely.
veiled women? They smelled nice. They cooked good
I
food.
don't know, but I don't know what they do. Did they come after the wife disappeared or before he threw the wife in the water because he wanted to stay with the ladies? And there
No,
were
they
3 of
came, that's
them.
why he disappeared his wife.
They told him
Came into-
because they were so beautiful. His wife.
Oh, they told him to disappear the wife?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's somebody
So-
said it. It's
So,
the
Maria, they asked him one question. Are you happy? That is when all the trouble started.
And then they take him home, give him food, and they dance and they smell nice. And then
Yeah.
he goes back and then he realizes that this is happiness, and then they chooses to throw the wife into the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but over the wife, he had power. Does he have any power over these 3 women? He doesn't, right?
No, he doesn't.
And do they leave him or do they stay with him?
Now we don't know. The women
They
haven't come
disappear.
back.
They
They
disappear.
disappear, right?
Yeah, gone,
Okay,
gone.
so then he's left without his toy, without his toys, none of them, and he wants to get the other one back. I don't know. I think this guy. I don't like this guy.
I didn't get. You don't like him?
I
She
don't
didn't
like this
him.
guy. No, not at all.
Yeah. Fatima, Sindhu, Sheena, Renu, what do you all think? Where are your voices?
Silent ladies.
I actually
I all
came
ladies
very
kind of
early.
way.
Yeah, Sheena
So I
saying
didn't
something.
hear the
Okay,
story,
Sheena.
so I don't know what to say. From the bits of everything you all are saying, I'm just piecing the story together now. So I don't know what the story is.
Just like Maria then. Fatima
think-
was there from the beginning.
Yeah, I think the wife in a box was an opportunity for happiness, and maybe he did not treasure it, and then he lost the opportunity of happiness.
Absolutely. Yeah. True. Sindhu.
What I personally feel is, first of all, I would like to appreciate, the work, what she has done. Wonderful narration. Wonderful. I loved it. And this is for the first time that I'm attending a storytelling session. Thank you, Rekechi, for that. And what I would like to say is, one always goes behind hunting happiness, never realizing that every small bit of happiness is around us, and we have to find happiness in whatever is with us. So if that person was happy with his wife, he would not have even had a second thought of going behind in search of happiness.
That's
very true. Very true.
Renu.
I think she left.
Yeah. No, she's
Probably someone else.
Hmm.
Anyway,
But,
I'll make sure to watch the recording so that I can hear the story. And then...
Story. That's what the story was.
I'm also like, I missed, my network is down. So I'm so pissed with that because I didn't want to miss Aarati's story. I know how well she does it. And I'm going to check the recording too. Aarati, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheena. Thank you, Sindhu.
We really enjoyed
songs. Were they both Indian songs?
The one which I sang for the wedding is an Indian song. It's a Goan song.
Okay.
And the other one is just a lullaby. It's not, it does not have any meaning. It is just, wording, just some English words. It doesn't have
In the end, he didn't have babies also.
Sorry?
Is that a major concern? Is that a major concern?
Humming some element of music.
But is it what you composed or is it from India? The lullaby.
The song is a very well-established song in India, Goan song, and it is quite popular, in fact. The wedding song, the one which I sang, is quite popular. You will find it on YouTube. Yeah.
The lullaby I'm talking of.
Yeah, the lullaby, sorry.
The lullaby is your
I
composition.
heard it. I heard the lullaby, and I just thought I will use it in this story.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Aarti. Really.
So thank you for the opportunity and nice, lovely interacting with all of you. Very amazing perspectives. I had not met these. Sorry?
We have the power. We have the power. We are fished out of the water. We make a man happy. Then 3 other of us come and then we sing to him and get doubt into his mind. So we can sort of really get him, twisted all over. That fame for the power of the woman is there.
That's true. At the end of it, it's all about the power of women. We have to say that it also brings back that how as adults, no one tells stories. Unless we read, we don't get to know stories. And something like this is amazing that we can listen to a story and get involved in it. And that's something like going back to our roots of how we grew up. It brings back so many memories and that feeling of being part of a story. That's also amazing.
Did you
Really.
know, I mean, when I was growing up, my father used to tell me stories, except he only had 3 in his repertoire. But I mean, I do remember him telling me stories, and I used to tell my nephews and nieces stories. I make them up as I go along, but and the children fill it in for me. But storytelling is something that I think is such, it takes you away. Like I was saying, it's lovely the imagery that storytelling has, and also I love the music bit in it. I know these are little things, but those are things like my father used to put those in as well.
But isn't it interesting that we associate it only with children? Our memories are stories with children.
Yes.
What I heard and what I've told my kids. But this was the first time as adults I'm hearing it, and I'm so fascinated by it. Aarti, you did such a great job.
I go to a group in England that does storytelling in Epsom, where I am. We have a storytelling group here. Then there's another storytelling group in North London. So storytelling is quite a big thing, because storytelling is so many, like, with Native American Indians, you tell a story, the oral history goes through storytelling.
Yeah,
so it's quite a powerful means of communication. It's communication. So I know children, because children appreciate it more. It's just that when I started storytelling about 8 years ago in Epsom, it was so good. I had never done it since my father, who used to tell me stories, and I do it myself, but I haven't done it for a long time. But I like it with children best. I know this sounds, it's just that it might sound odd, but children interrupt, and I love that interruption, because they ask questions and then the story pushes on.
Right.
I never have a story. I make the story as I go along.
Right.
So,
right.
It's nice.
Actually, Sudha, if you look at it, there are in a religious sense that there are storytellings. Like if you look at, we have the 7 days recital of the Bhagavatam.
The parables,
right? Yeah, comes in, but somehow our generation has lost that art of sitting in for these things. Or
I don't think so. I don't think we have lost the art. I think we just changed the name. It's called gossip now. When you grow up, it starts with gossip.
Maria.
Social media is that actually, but
but before social media, I used to spend my afternoons talking to my girlfriends on the phone, and we were gossiping, and we were talking about somebody else's life or our own lives, but mostly somebody else's life, So
that's true.
I think that took the place of those stories that we were told when we were little.
But even professionals think of the legal profession, right? That if the prosecution, they have a story, right? The other side has a story. Like, I mean, you're in therapy, you have a story. Your opponent has a story. So life is
cases.
Stories, perspective stories,
Yeah.
But the stories are used to make a lesson. The story, like in law, you have a case because it comes out with a principle or a moral with a parable. So the stories are there for a reason. It's lessons learned, of
Absolutely. And stories are also about vantage points. I do this in my, when I do this communication workshop, they are adults, but I give them a story like Cinderella, and I tell them that what if the story were told from the vantage point of the mother or the vantage point of the sister, how the story would look. And it's amazing how they come up with a completely different, it's the same story, but the whole perspective changes about, because in every story, the person who's narrating is the hero, of course, and they can only do the right things and the good things. And it's amazing how many perspectives come out that way, that Cinderella story takes a spin, completely. Stories are
Rekha,
perspectives. Yeah.
interestingly, you brought out the creativity aspect of it. In all our Bhagavatam, in all that the storytelling that we have, there is a fixed story, and you are being reminded about it in a kind of in a religious sense. Even the Panchatantra, all of them have a fixed story. But here, like when Aarti was saying, I had to imagine it. I had to imagine what she was saying, and that brought out a different aspect of of our mind. It engaged in a different way. And I think when we tell, if you, Lord of the Rings, when you read it, it was so fantastic. When I saw the movie, I was disappointed because it didn't match my fantasy.
But that's all.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true that you can imagine the characters, and sometimes those actors are disappointing, when they like that's so
That
very
always happens with book adaptation, no? Very rarely it matches your fantasy and imagination.
Yes.
And then
And
again,
sometimes you feel that you were better off left with your fantasies than
because you create your own. I mean, it's a forced thing, isn't it? It's a representation that you have to kind of take on. It's a mirroring or whatever. But when one creates it themselves, it's your own perceived, your own sensations, your own
imagination.
It's your own, what you're happy with and what you take of it.
Absolutely.
It's not like what is thrust on it.
But that's the beauty of story, because the storytelling in storytelling is told to you. You don't read it. So it's the teller that actually brings it alive from their perspective. That's why I like story. Because if I read the story that is it Arati? Arati, yeah, so told me, I would have maybe seen a different perspective as I read it. But storytelling has shown, I mean, you are imagining it, but you're imagining it based on what the storyteller tells you. Because the first image I had was of the old man. I didn't have it because I'm more focused on people. I didn't have it of the scenery of the lake. That's why I had to say to you, gosh, I forgot the rest of it. Because my first bit was when you said it and you showed it in your face. That's why I wanted to see your face. And I couldn't see anybody's face in the beginning. When you said he had a craggy face and you used your fingers to show his cragginess, those kinds of visuals are really, because in a storytelling, when I used to go to, it's different now with Zoom, it's become difficult. I haven't gone to one. We've got one on the 6th, was it? The 22nd, we've got a storytelling coming up. So I'm hoping to go to that, but my laptop's gone kaput, so I'm trying to.
So each storyteller, I think, also adds a bit to the story, and then as it is retold, it
shifts.
Takes on different dimensions, I guess. There is
read that
storyteller in that story as well.
Because the Cinderella one, I've seen that as a storytelling thing from the perspective of one of the ugly sisters. And it was done on television, so it was interesting that the way they did it. But I love all these. I mean, I used to read. I mean, I love fairy tales and things because they call them fairy tales, but they're not. When you look at some of these old Russian ones, old Greek ones, you see these stories, and they're kind of repeated in a certain way, but not repeated. There's a different slant for every different country when you read these fairy tales. They're interesting, but it's a lovely way to explore people's moralities, their wishes, their dreams, philosophy. I mean, it's a lovely platform. This mechanism.
Absolutely, and to be able to narrate, so like this is an art itself.
Yes, it is. It's something I'd like to do.
Stories help you to, it stimulates your brains, you start thinking. Otherwise, you are not touched on those aspects sometimes. You have not thought of it. And then they make you think. That is the beauty of stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again, Aarti.
Thank you so much. I love talking to all of you. It was
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shirin, when is our next meeting? In February? And who's doing it? Shirin?
Hello.
Shirin, can you hear me?
Is she there?
Yeah, she's
Yes, I was
there.
frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
No, when is our next
was
meeting in
frozen.
February and who's doing it?
February the 3rd week. I can't remember the date, but I'll send it out. It's Nicole who's hosting it.
Yeah.
It's
I think
20th.
Aarti would like to say bye and go. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
Aarti.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Beautiful job.
Thank you, Rekha.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
So we shall meet in February then.
Yes, 20th of February.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I'll be saying goodbye too. Bye-bye. Sorry I
Bye.
was late, but
Thank
I'll
you. Log
be
in earlier next time.
I'll be looking forward to watching the recording.
The
Okay?
recording. We will send it.
Okay. Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you,
Everyone. I
guys.
really enjoyed it. I don't know who
Thank
set it up for this, but thank you very much. I'll try to come to
Thank
you.
more.
Rekha convened it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We
Bye.
have done these sessions with her earlier, and that's why we thought that
I missed that one, the early one, but I've been so busy. I've had this eye operation which hasn't worked. So I've been up to, I know it's something to do with glaucoma. I'm not really sure what it is, but they're trying to fix it. I think I've got acute angle. If anyone's got a medical background there, an acute angle glaucoma.
No idea.
So I was just told the results that hadn't worked. So they're going to do something else. They might do a cataract thing on my eyes.
Okay.
Because I had they said the problem I have is anatomical. So, and then my laptop crashed. That's what I'm saying. I'm getting really fed up. And then I thought, Mercury retrograde at the end of the month. I better get everything sorted before then. So, yeah.
Good luck with all that, Teresa. And see you in the next session.
Yes. So it's the 20-something?
20th. I'll send out the message.
20th.
The third Saturday of the month.
Who's doing it, Shireen?
Nicole.
Nicole. Okay. Okay.
Okay then.
I wish Mela were here as well. She would have enjoyed it.
She would have loved it, but she's having surgery soon. Rekha,
That's
so
what
I think she's not keeping too well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Thanks so
Shall we
much, Shireen. Thank
Bye,
you,
thank
Rekha.
you.
Bye, Teresa.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye. See you. Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye. I think Usha, your colleague, enjoyed as well. Shireen, bye then. I think.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. I need it, and let me go back to my books. But I think we need to improve the attendance a little bit, right?
I know.
What do we need to do? We need to think. Now, in the next session, let's think.
I don't know whether these are keen to
We
stay
hadn't
on.
invited all these other guests. The attendance was so pathetic from the members, right?
It's the same number. Everyone is the same people who seem to be coming.
Yeah, exactly. What is this?
Unless should we check whether they are keen to keep, at least let us know the reality whether they are going to be in the group or not.
Yeah, I mean, they should participate, right? I mean, what is this? Once a month only. What is the big deal?
And also at least inform if they are not, there is no commitment even to inform, So this is the thing. That's why I asked you whether we should